Hello, Bashar.
And a good day.
It's my first time here, and
Again?
yes, again.
Oh,
and I'm
my.
very nervous. My heart's
Nervous?
pounding out of my chest.
You mean excited?
And excited. Yes.
Oh, all right.
This is
one or the other.
both.
Not simultaneously. You might be flipping back and forth.
Okay, I see.
All right.
So I guess this is part of one of my biggest joys is that I do things that make me feel this way.
Yes.
So I'm happy.
All right.
And I try to spread.
You what?
I try to.
You what?
I spread that joy.
Thank you. Remember, we are selectively deaf to certain concepts on your planet now. Trying doesn't register. Doing does.
Got it. I'll try to remember that.
I beg your pardon.
I'll remember that. I'll remember that. So I am very excited. This is pretty new to me.
What is?
Being here, I guess the awakening or starting to wake up.
All right.
And I'm so excited that I want to spread that to...
and in what way would you like to do that? First and foremost, of course, simply being an example as yourself, which often is the only way you need to be.
Right.
Make sense?
Yes.
All right. But you can have an expression of it somehow. Is there a particular expression that is representative of what you would like to put out as a representation of your excitement? When you say spread this, what do you mean physically?
Two things came to mind. One is talking to people one-on-one.
All right.
And then the other was music.
All right. So those are different expressions of the idea of your excitement of sharing certain concepts. Yes?
Yes.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
You don't have a need for anyone to believe you, right? You don't have a need for anyone to change, do you?
Is that a trick question? I want to say...
No, it's not. Yes, it is.
I feel I need it.
Why do you need anyone else to change?
Because it makes me happy.
No, it doesn't. Do you want to be allowed to choose what you prefer? Yes or no? Not a trick question. Do you wish to be allowed to choose what you prefer at any given moment, yes or no?
I don't know why I'm so confused by that, but I'm going to say yes.
Thank you. Do you want other people telling you how to believe, how to think?
No.
Then you want to be allowed to choose what you prefer to think and believe, yes?
Yes.
Then can you give the same courtesy to everyone else? Why should you be allowed to choose what you prefer if you're not willing to allow others to choose what they prefer, even if it's not the same thing you choose? If you're going to be an example of allowance and freedom and joy, then why would you put conditions and insistence on what it is they choose to do with the information that you share? You understand that we share all this information with all of you because it excites us to do so for its own sake. That's who we are. If any one of you chooses to ignore everything we've said, that's your choice. And we are happy for you in knowing that you can make the choice that you believe works for you at that particular moment, because that's the whole idea anyway. We don't need you to believe anything we say. What we do because it excites us. We show you by example that it can work for you too, but if you choose not to believe that, that's your choice. Doesn't change how we feel in our lives, because you have your life and we have ours. And whatever it is you choose has absolutely no bearing on what it is we prefer to choose. So we share, and maybe you will adopt some of these ideas and maybe you won't. That's up to you. We honor and respect you enough and know you are powerful enough to make your own decisions. Because we also know that every single being is eternal and infinite. So there's no hurry in terms of you choosing one thing or another, or someone else choosing one thing or another. You'll get to experience everything in the course of infinity anyway. So there's no rush. There's no deadline. There is, however, a lifeline. So you can throw them a lifeline and say, would you like to grab on? This is fun. But you have to have enough willingness and compassion and allowance to let them say, no, thank you. Not for me right now. Because if you're not allowing them, why should they allow you the freedom to choose? This makes sense, yes?
Yes.
All right. So, drop the need, because paradoxically, if you need someone to change, if you're trying to force someone to buy into what you say you believe in, that actually means you're only trying to convince yourself because you don't really believe it. Because if it truly has power, don't you think they'll find it somehow? Because power attracts, doesn't it? True power attracts. It's very attractive, true power. So if you know that what you believe is truly powerful, why would you need to force it on anything? As we have said, the greatest power requires the gentlest touch, because it doesn't need to force anything. That's why God, Goddess, all that is, almost feels like it doesn't even exist. It is so powerful that it doesn't even need you to know that it's real. Then that allows you the freedom to believe that it doesn't even exist. It doesn't care. It knows it exists. And you wouldn't even have the ability to say that it doesn't exist if you didn't exist and weren't supported in your existence by it. Make sense?
Yes.
Is this helping?
Yeah, for sure it is.
All right. Please remember, all of you, the first step to true enlightenment is to lighten up. Not be so serious. You have to believe this. It will save you. It will save the world.
Well, I don't go around saying it like that.
I know. I'm exaggerating. Yes. But the intention of needing someone to buy into it is the same. You follow?
Yeah.
All right. So, no longer needy?
I'm going to work on it. I'm going to work on it.
Working on it. Oh, all right. Have fun working on it, please.
Thank you.
Will that help? All right.
Hi, I'm another first-time participant.
Oh, all right. Good day to you.
Good day. And I guess most aspects of my question have been answered,
How
as I'm the
synchronous
last
of
one.
you.
I still want to hear it one more time, I guess.
Which is what?
Which is, so when I have these times of when I feel really aligned, inspired, and
Yes.
everything feels easy and good,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden, without knowing the trigger, I feel completely cut off of everything.
Did I not remind you that one of the tools in the kit of excitement is that it brings to your attention anything within you that's out of alignment with that excitement so you can deal with it?
Yes.
Then it's working.
Yes.
Anytime you're moving along in your excitement and suddenly the brakes are on and something happens that feels completely the opposite, that's your chance to go, hot dog, it's working. My excitement is bringing me information I need to know so that if I'm holding on to something that doesn't serve me, I can let it go and add that energy and expand my excitement. Yay.
Yes.
That's how you approach it, because then you're staying in a positive state when dealing with something that comes up that might actually be negative.
Mm-hmm.
And only by staying in a positive state will you be able to get a positive effect out of dealing with something that might be negative. Make sense?
Yes.
If you go into the negative state and say, oh no, this is an interruption, this is an obstacle, something's wrong, then that's the only way you can experience that opportunity, in a negative way. But if you give it a positive definition, as we just did, you can only get a positive and beneficial effect from the very same circumstance. Remember, nothing has built-in meaning. Everything is devoid of meaning. It's neutral. You give it meaning, but the meaning you give it determines the effect you get out of it. Utterly, totally, completely. Make sense?
Yes.
So choose the meaning you wish to give something and get the effect you prefer.
Okay.
And
here's the second part to my question.
yes,
So when I'm in these cut-off times and then all the sadness of the world seems to be crawling in and making everything a little bit overwhelmed,
yes,
especially the suffering of animals and what
yes, I understand.
our people do to
I
animals.
understand.
So
I'm not saying you can't empathize,
and how do they?
but don't
Yeah?
reinforce the negativity by adding to it. Because you're not helping anyone by going into a negative state. How are you helping the animals by going into a state of sadness? Go into a state of compassion and take some action that is actually of help. Because then you become a shining example of another way you can have a relationship with animals. And then maybe people see that and say, oh, look what she's doing. We can do that. Let's change our relationship to the animals into something more positive, something more loving, something more equal. Look what she's doing. She's an example. But if they turn to you and go, oh, look, she's just sad, well, she's not going to be of any help to these poor animals. She's actually acting worse off than they are. Maybe the animals need to help her.
Yes.
You catch our
Thank
meaning?
you. Yes.
Catch our drift?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
We're checking to see how much time we have because we have no more people to ask questions.
Is it your lunchtime already?
No, it's not.
No. Are you sure?
I don't know. We're checking. Does anyone know what time it is? So we have about 30 minutes.
Are you sure?
Well, yeah, it's 12 o'clock and we're supposed to end at 12:30.
You're supposed to?
Well, actually, you know that's up to you, Bashar.
Is it now?
Last time I checked.
All right. Do you wish to draw another name?
Sure.
All right.
How many more should I
Do
draw?
you wish to draw another name? Singular? He asked, assuming she understood the language translation?
Sorry, I was thinking in another language.
Yes, you were.
The name is Vanessa C. Tan? Vanessa?
Thank you, Bashar, for
And to you, good day.
good day to you too.
Speak up, speak up.
My
Be bold.
my family and I have been going through a lot lately.
How
And
exciting.
It is exciting. It is exciting to an extent that it has changed a lot of lives.
All right.
But I want to understand why I attracted this person in my life.
What person?
This person and this experience in my life.
What person? Can
Na-
you describe the person in some way, shape, or form? Hello?
a
Are you still
negative,
there?
it's a negative person energy.
All right. Many times you will attract people who are vibrationally incompatible or maybe exhibiting negative traits because maybe they need to get something from you. That's positive.
To get something from me.
That's positive. Are you not willing to help others?
I am.
Well, then that might be the reason why you would attract somebody that you may not necessarily prefer, but you have attracted because perhaps they need to see something in you, something from you that allows them perhaps more options for themselves in a more positive way.
And so that means that I would need to be much more open and
Why not? They can't possibly affect you negatively, can they?
The haves in some way.
No. As you say in your game show, no one is capable of affecting you. If you have been affected, it's because you have agreed to match the vibration and have used that agreement to affect yourself. So why would you do that?
I wouldn't want to do that.
Then why did you do that?
Maybe to learn more.
All right. If nothing else, to learn that you may have had a negative definition that made that seem to be the logical choice to make. Now that you know it's not what you preferred, you don't have to make that choice again, do you?
Never.
All right. So open up to the idea that you can attract whomever. What difference does it make? Because if you know they can only affect you by your agreement and that you don't agree to be affected negatively, then what matter who they are? Because they can't possibly affect you in any way you don't wish to be affected.
That's right.
And that you can be a shining example perhaps of something they need in their lives at that moment that can perhaps help them. You never really know how much help you're being to others. Quite often, you don't know. You could be just passing by and help someone who just needed to see someone like you at that particular moment. So the next time you're all stuck in traffic, look around. You're not next to those people by accident. It's all an orchestration. Yes, there may be different degrees of what each person in that orchestration needs to get out of it, different themes, different reflections. It's not necessarily a one-to-one thing, but you're still there for a reason, and you may never know the reason. But what you can know is there is a reason. And the more you allow yourself to trust in that, the more capable you might become of actually knowing what the reason is. For example, as you say, you are, quote unquote, stuck in rush hour traffic. How do you know that your higher mind didn't help you orchestrate that? Because if you had been zipping along at 70 miles an hour, you would have been part of an accident 10 miles down the road.
That's right.
You don't know, and you don't always have to know. The only thing you need to know is that you know there has to be a reason for it. And for you, the reason always has to be positive. Why? Because you say so. Because there is nothing in creation to contradict you. If creation is willing to allow you to buy into negative experiences and support you in the creation and manifestation and perpetuation of negative experiences, why wouldn't it support you in the manifestation of positive ones too? It's not going to contradict you. It doesn't care what you choose because everything is valid for a reason. Even if you choose something you don't prefer, it's valid in teaching you that you didn't prefer it. Sometimes people will choose the dark because for them it makes it easier for them to see the light. Yes?
Yes.
By comparison. So everything can be used in a positive way if you remain in that state. But remember, you cannot perceive what you're not the vibration of. So if you're a negative vibration, you can't imagine, you can't conceive of, you can't be inspired by the opportunities that a person who is in a positive state can be inspired by, because you're not on the wavelength of positive inspiration. But when you are, the inspiration comes, the knowledge comes, the awareness comes. It's that simple. Again, this is just physics. What you put out is what you get back. Assume that what you're getting back is there for a positive reason, and you will see how it is positive in general, if not in specific terms. But again, remember, you don't always need to know why something happened the way it did. You just need to know that it happened that way for a positive reason for you. And maybe for a lot of other people too. You just don't know. But you're willing to be part of the orchestration because you know it's helping someone, somehow, somewhere. And that's good enough for you. Isn't it?
It is.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is it lunchtime now, Nadia?
Well, we still have a little more time if you feel like
How
talking.
much time?
20 minutes.
20 minutes?
Yes.
Oh, the poor starving people in your gathering whose stomachs are grumbling mightily.
Is Darryl hungry?
No. All right, you may draw one more name. That is, in your language, one more name.
Micah Tazukari?
Oh, well said.
The non-family members, such as friends or coworkers,
Yes.
telling me, hey, you are great, fantastic, you're more than enough, you're so strong.
Yes.
And I get good compliment.
Yes.
But family member
Yes.
saying you're not enough, and if you do, everybody laughing, and I get negative comment, and especially my son.
Yes. Well,
I-
which is true for you? Which is true for you, and which do you recognize simply as a reflection of someone else's issues that they're not comfortable with? Remember, when you are attacked, now again, I'm not saying you can't pay attention to when something may be constructive criticism that you may need to hear, that you might have attracted into your life to get a reflection on so that you can bring yourself back into alignment. But that's not what you're talking about. The idea of groundless negative attacks is more often than not the idea that they have issues within themselves and they see you as a reminder of the issues they don't want to face, so they resent it and project their anxiety onto you for reminding them of something they don't want to look at within themselves. You understand?
Yes.
So if you can tell the difference, then no matter whether or not someone attacks you, you will know it really has nothing to do with you. And therefore, it will be nonsensical and illogical, and why would you need to take it to heart? You don't have to take it personally because it has nothing to do with you.
I get that. And I'm trying to think that way.
I beg your pardon. Little hard of hearing. Say that again, please.
I get that.
Oh, all right.
And I'm being positive
Yes.
whole time.
But
But I'm tired of hearing that negative comment. And
what difference does it make? If it has nothing to do with you, who cares how many times you hear it?
he's my son. And,
So what?
And
So what? What's that got to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything?
I want to establish much better relationship with him.
That's fine. You can do your part of the relationship in the way that you would like to, but he doesn't have to respond.
Right. Exactly.
Therefore, if the important thing is for you to be in the relationship in an unconditionally loving way, unconditionally loving?
That's,
Yes.
yeah, unconditional love.
My love is conditional, which is another way of saying it isn't love. Do you love your son?
I do.
Then it's unconditional, or it's not love. Not really. If it's got filters on it, it's not love.
Well, I see him. I don't see him right now.
Is
much.
he reflecting to you the things within yourself that you're not giving yourself, that you think you need from him?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Do you love yourself?
Yes.
Then love him how he is. If he's going to change, that's the only way you give him an opportunity to do so, by loving him as he is. You can share other ideas. You can give him the idea that there are other ways to be, and you can teach him that he is self-empowered, as powerful as he needs to be to get anything he really needs without hurting himself or anyone else in the process. That's how powerful he is. But if he refuses to believe in his power, there's not much you can do about it, is there? So,
What's it?
love him nonetheless.
Okay.
Be the example. If you stop being the example because you're tired of hearing him complain about you, then you will not be there to be the loving example he needs to see. Yes?
Yes.
And again, he doesn't have to choose to match your vibration because he is still your son.
Right.
And you still love him. And there may be other purposes to this dance than you might even imagine at this moment. Never assume that this will always remain as it is. Allow yourself to know there is reason in this, there is purpose in this, and that at some point, whether in this life or not, you'll understand what was going on. But you have to be willing to know that there's a purpose there, a positive purpose in some way, shape, or form, for you to be capable of allowing yourself to know that, to experience that. So, if you find yourself getting frustrated by someone else's behavior, then all you're really doing is testing yourself to see if you really believe what you say you believe. Yes?
Yes.
All right, well, then the question is, do you believe what you say you believe or don't you?
I believe myself. I believe what I say, what I believe, what I do.
Then stay in that state of belief and allow anything else that is not vibrationally compatible with it to simply roll off your back and recognize that it's not personal, it's their issue, and that you have enough love and compassion for them to let them go through whatever process they believe they need to go through to discover their own self-empowerment in whatever good time they decide they're going to discover it, and you have nothing to say about when that ought to be.
Okay. So I already dropped his luggage, and I bought new luggage for him.
How
and
symbolic.
What?
How symbolic.
How symbolic?
Symbolic. How representative. Dropping luggage, buying new luggage.
No,
Baggage.
bought the luggage for him because that's his luggage that he carry.
I know.
And then, but he asking, Mom, why you still don't, carry my luggage? And I said, no, that's yours now.
Yes. So you're teaching him responsibility.
Yes.
And again,
So
teaching him self-empowerment.
Yes. So that's how I will continue to do that.
Well, yes, otherwise you're not teaching him the tools he needs to stand on his own 2 feet. Yes?
Yes.
Unless he has more than 2 feet.
Maybe he have 5.
All right.
I don't know. Okay.
Some of you have 6 feet. You bury yourselves 6 feet under.
I see. Okay.
So, remember that the baggage that is yours doesn't weigh a thing. If anything weighs you down, you're carrying bags that don't belong to you. That's your first clue.
Okay.
Does that help?
Very help.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you too.
You are welcome. Nania,
Yes, Tadeo?
is it lunchtime now?
Nope.
Really?
10 more
Are you
minutes.
sure?
10 more minutes.
Why?
I'm keeping time.
Why?
Why not?
You tell me. Why not?
Because you feel like stopping now? Because it's the timing?
Are you guessing?
I'm thinking like you might be thinking. Well, if you ask me, I'll just have you talk all the time. You know that.
Well, is that fair?
Well, is it fair? It's fabulous.
Is it fair?
It's fair.
Is it?
What, if you're talking to people
Yes.
for another 10 minutes?
Is it fair?
It's fair for me. Is it fair
Is it
for
fair
you?
for everyone?
Is it fair for you?
All right.
Anybody starving here that just, oh, well, we have one person in the audience. No.
Is that
So-
enough?
No,
Why not?
because majority rules.
Does it? What you do to the least of these, you do to me. Remember that quote?
I do remember that quote.
Is one enough?
And under certain circumstances, one is enough.
One for all and all for one?
Don't you want to have someone else ask you a question?
What do you think we're doing right now? You think you're standing up there by accident?
There are no accidents.
Well then,
All
what's
right.
your question?
What's my question?
Yes.
Oh, well, you know what my question is about? Because I love animals and I also respond to issues when trees are cut down.
Yes.
And recently in my reality, some very beautiful trees that were quite old got cut down.
Yes.
And so I was challenged to stay in a positive state.
All right.
And find positive meaning in that. And
Yes.
I really struggled with it.
Oh, all right. How exciting.
Oh, so exciting, yes. Um, so what I finally found that worked for me as a permission slip to allow me to move into a higher vibrational state
Yes.
and not feel like something had been lost
All right.
was to tune into the energy of Gaia
Yes.
and to get to that level where Gaia is balancing itself all the time. And the earth is a planet it's a forest. The whole planet is a forest.
Yes.
And the animals and the plants communicate with each other. And when one transitions into another dimension, Gaia is balancing it. Gaia is keeping us all together.
And remember that you are also Gaia. All of you together. All for one, one for all. Gaia supports you. You support Gaia. Gaia is you, and you are Gaia. Allow yourself, whenever you feel that concept of loss, to remind yourself that there are visible and invisible forests. And ask yourself the question, truly, how deep do my roots really go? And you will find the connection that you need. All right?
All right. And I was wondering, because these were very big pine trees.
Yes. Are you pining for them?
I was pining for the pine trees. But I was wondering what is the significance of that particular type of tree? I think at one point
You do
talked
remember
about,
they are the ambassadors of the tree people. Pines are the ambassadors of the world of trees to all other worlds and all other people.
and they act as antenna for the planet,
They do.
right? And
They
when
do.
you say they act as antenna, I mean,
Yes.
it made me think of like whiskers. You know how animals have whiskers and
Yes.
they can sense their environment, and it's like
Yes.
the earth has whiskers
Yes.
with the trees.
Yes.
So, and then there was something about tachyon energy.
The idea of the antenna of the tree is that it is a step-down transformer for taking higher frequency energies that might be beyond your physical reality and translating them down into energy that is perceivable in your reality domain.
So technically, if a lot of pine trees disappear, then we're not receiving the same level of high energy.
Nor the same information.
So then the way to use that in a positive way is to stretch yourself.
You become
Become-
the tree.
Okay.
How deep do your roots go?
Okay.
How high can you grow? You become the tree.
And I can even see that, like if you go and you touch a tree, you know, and you feel the energy of it.
Become
the
the tree.
tree.
Take whatever instruction from the trees you wish to, but you become the tree in its stead.
Oh, that feels beautiful. Thank you.
It's tremendous.
And lastly, along this topic, is electricity conscious?
Everything is made of consciousness. To ask if electricity is conscious in the way that you experience consciousness, well, no, of course not. But it is made of consciousness and expresses and experiences consciousness in a completely different way than you do.
Because I know electricity would be connected with the idea of light, correct?
Electromagnetic energy, yes.
Okay, so I think that's where the question was coming from, the idea of, since the light is so written in so many of the text as far as the importance of the light, is it actually consciousness?
Yes, everything is consciousness, because consciousness is simply the expression of existence being aware of itself. It's just a reflection. So the idea is that everything is made out of that same, well, energy, if you want to say the word energy, or consciousness, but everything experiences itself as consciousness in very different ways. I'll use the word in very alien ways, very foreign ways, ways that you don't experience it as a personality in physical reality. For example, a rock even experiences consciousness, but the way a rock is designed to be a rock, and the way you're designed by yourself to be a physical human, the rock experiences its consciousness by you being conscious of the rock. So it's using you as a reflection to be aware of itself, even though it's not aware of itself directly in the way that you are. It's using you and other aspects of nature to allow itself to be aware of itself, but only by using those other aspects can it be aware of itself in a similar way to the way you consider yourself to be self-aware. So it's a very different form of self-awareness. It's a very different expression of consciousness. So yes, it's conscious, but not in the way that you are.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So we have lots of questions about spaceships and aliens and things you might be familiar with.
Maybe just a little bit, yes.
So this viewer is saying that, they've done certain protocols to be able to make ET contact, and that in doing that, they've been able to, experience a spaceship in the sky and become aware of it. And so once contact is made and there's that craft there, then what?
Well, what do you mean, then what? Keep going. Keep using your imagination. Keep coming up with other ways to let extraterrestrial beings know that you are peaceful, that you are centered, that you are balanced, that your intentions are positive. Keep going. Use your imagination. Expand the protocols. Be more imaginative. Be more creative. Be more active with them. Come up with different ways of showing those things. Artistic ways, creative ways, whatever you wish to do. But keep going. It will expand, and over time, the extraterrestrials will understand all the different ways you are attempting to communicate this idea of peaceful interaction, loving interaction, creative interaction with them, with us, and eventually it will blend into more and more face-to-face, open kinds of contact.
And that sounds fun.
Yes, of course. Why wouldn't it be?
Another question is, can you tell us about Phobos monolith on the Mars moon? Was it put there? Who did it? What's its purpose? And does it have any relationship to any of the monoliths on our planet?
The idea of monolith on Phobos, one of Mars's moons, comes from the ancient civilization that used to abide there millions of your years ago, as a sentinel, as a beacon for a variety of energetic and scientific purposes. It is to some degree energetically connected to certain things on Earth, such as certain kinds of ancient obelisks and pyramids and so on and so forth. There is an energetic connection. But the idea is that it is something from a long ago civilization. It still has to some degree some activity within it energetically, but not really according to its original uses, since that civilization is no longer upon Mars in the same way that it used to be.
Was there anything significant about the one that showed up? Was it in Arizona or Utah?
Well, the significance is mystery. The significance is a manifestation of the collective consciousness that now is becoming more open to the idea of exploring mystery, exploring portals, exploring places that might be connected to other dimensions and other realities, so that you become more aware that there is more mystery on your planet than you may think. Because many people on your planet think, oh, we've solved it all, we've seen it all, been there, done that. Well, no, you've barely scratched the surface. So the idea is that your collective consciousness will allow individuals to create certain things and manifestations that will be more mysterious, to start pulling you in the direction of the great mysteries, so that you can really explore both the inner realities as you explore the outer realities, and ask yourself questions that you have to go to a different level to answer.
And could you share with us how the stones used to build the ancient megaliths, some weighing hundreds of tons, were cut and lifted into place?
Well, a lot of vibrational resonance, sonic vibrations were used to cancel the idea that you call gravity, to relocate the locational variable in those objects. But even though they also had certain kinds of technologies long ago that could do some of these things, a lot of the stones weren't cut. They were simply formed in the sense of dissolving them or softening them and sort of treating them more like the idea of cement or clay. So they could be put into place, formed in place, and not necessarily always carried. Sometimes they were held aloft by vibrational resonance, and sometimes they were simply formed in place. Depends on how far back you go with the technology before it was lost, before it was forgotten.
So interesting. So can you tell us a little bit about the different types of grays that we're interacting with?
Well, as we have said, there is what we call the Maz-A, which you call the typical short gray. There are the taller grays, which we call Mazani, which is another hybridization level, another phase of hybridization. Now, remember that sometimes you're also dealing with gray beings and, of course, other beings that come from other parallel realities as well. So we understand that there can be a little bit of a confusing mix of things going on. They don't all blame, in a sense. They don't all come from the same reality necessarily. So you have to be a little bit discerning about what you're dealing with when you're dealing with the beings that you're referring to as the grays, because they're not necessarily all of a type from your reality, or their reality, or other realities may be involved.
One question that came up is whether or not there are factions of the grays that were actually experimented on and abducted, just like they're doing to us.
Yes, but that's another reality altogether.
So the grays that we're interacting with were not subjected. Okay.
Though they did have the same Anunnaki beginnings in their own reality, in terms of being human originally.
Right. So different individuals have experienced abductions, and this individual is saying that they have trouble reconciling their feelings of being violated. And can you talk about that conundrum? Because the hybrid program is such a wonderful idea, and yet the experience of contributing to it was emotionally difficult.
Yes. The reasons that it is challenging for many people is because your society wasn't allowed to know what was actually going on so that it could participate more consciously. So the idea is that since this information was suppressed, since you were not given the ability to prepare yourselves to understand what you had chosen to participate in as a species in your own evolution, as well as the evolution of the grays in creating hybrids such as ourselves, then many of those experiences were traumatic. So the idea now is to understand you can ask to continue to experience these things on your own terms, by understanding that you did agree to participate in this, even though you may not remember it, and that it doesn't have to continue to be traumatic for you in any way, shape, or form, as long as you are asking for the ability to enter these things on your own terms, experience them on your own terms. By not being afraid of what's going on, you will not experience them traumatically. And it can also bring about some of the healing of what you did experience traumatically by understanding that they simply didn't necessarily have the wherewithal, the Greys, being that they created themselves to be an emotionless hive mentality in order to succeed in the hybridization agenda. You can understand to some degree that they simply couldn't relate to what you were experiencing for quite a long time until there were enough hybrids to know what you were going through, and thus starting to temper those experiences in a much more conscious way, allowing people to be more conscious and participate on their own terms. But the idea of the trauma really comes from the fact that your own society never really allowed you to understand what was going on.
And for this other person that's to this day unable to sleep alone and still has the need to feel like there's somebody in the room when they sleep because they feel so uncomfortable when they sense the presence.
Well, again, this is simply, again, what we have just said. It's the residual of having gone through the experience without knowledge, without understanding, without conscious participation. So yes, it's a form of what you might call post-traumatic stress syndrome, because you were not allowed to know what was really going on by your own people. So the idea now is that you can alleviate a lot of that in the way that we have just suggested, by knowing that there isn't really anything negative going on per se, by understanding that you did make a choice to participate in this as part of the evolution of your own people into the sixth hybrid race, part of Earth's natural evolutionary stepping stones, and by asking for more awareness on a conscious level on your own terms, so that you know you can and always have had the ability to participate more consciously. And let go and forgive the idea of your own people preventing you from knowing this as you grew up in your reality.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
This is a little bit of historical ET information.
Yes.
A question on the topic of anti-Semitism.
Yes.
The idea that the Jewish people are perceived as a special people by others, expressed in a negative way in anti-Semitism. Does it come from the fact that they were in ancient times guided and protected by the Anunnaki, and that their religious ideas were, as a consequence, so different from the existing religions back there that they were perceived to be a small group of elitists trying to influence society?
All right. Well, first and foremost, there is actually something in error about that historical recollection with regard to being so different from other people in the beginning in terms of their culture. They were perceived as different because of a more direct genetic connection to the ancient Anunnaki, which was important to preserve for the future of the hybridization agenda to allow Earth to experience its evolution in the way that would best serve it. So the idea is that there was a sensing of that genetic difference that was called out, and because of the negativity that existed on the planet at the time in seeing them as different in that way, a lot of times, again, because of the same reasons people persecute others today, because they're afraid to look within themselves and project that fear on other people when they see something different that reminds them of what it is they contain as well, but they're afraid to look at, then there is persecution. But the idea that their culture in the beginning was so different isn't actually true. The idea of monotheism is actually a very late arrival in the culture of the ancient Hebrew people. The original idea that was really quite prominent in the beginning was similar throughout many different cultures, and that is the recognition, and of course at the time, because of the way they express things, the worship of not only the male principle of the so-called monotheistic God, but also the female principle of the idea of feminine energy, the goddess energy. This was actually quite prevalent throughout the ancient cultures of the Hebrew people, as well as many others. The idea of the suppression of the feminine came along much later, when those who were fear-based wanted to exercise the idea of more control over the populace for their own purposes of maintaining their power. But in the beginning, the idea of the Hebrew people was very pantheistic. They actually worshipped many different gods, and especially the idea of the god-goddess energy of Yahweh and Asherah. These things existed for a long, long time before, somewhere in and about your 530s BC, as you say, was a particular push to eliminate the feminine principle to whatever degree they could and focus everything down to a monotheistic patriarchal god to maintain the church's control as it was growing in power. So first and foremost, please understand that the idea is that the so-called beginnings of the Hebrew people were not monotheistic. They recognized the male and female principle within creation. It only became monotheistic in the way that it is now because of a power struggle that formed much later on. Does that help?
Yes. These questions are specific to Essassani and the Essassani people.
Yes.
The idea that there is a prime facilitator, is this something you've mentioned?
Yes. Again, it's part of the idea of an organizing body that allows for the amplification and magnification of the idea of synchronicity within a society, stabilization of a certain state of being within a society, to allow people a little bit more efficacy in having the discernment between the idea of what they do and don't prefer. So in that organizational body of service, which isn't exactly a government per se, there is what we would recognize as a prime facilitator that is the core of that particular focus of energy to allow for more ability to have that discernment and balance within the society.
And is that active as part of these channelings?
It's always involved to some degree, although the difference in degree depends on what is being done at any given moment. But of course, since it's a part of our society's collective equation of energy, then yes, the prime facilitator is always present to some degree.
So what kind of challenges do you as a people and your planet have?
Well, as a first contact specialist, obviously we have the challenge of our communications with different societies, as we are doing with your world right now. The challenge of presenting information in a way that is capable of being absorbed by those that choose to absorb it is an ongoing and very exciting process for us, because things are changing in a variety of ways all the time, and you are very different from our society, so we are always challenged to come up with more and more creative ways to express these concepts in a way that can potentially serve your society.
And for you personally, how do you allow your sculpting work to leak into your first contact work?
Well, one good example would be the idea of the creation of something we have mentioned before, which is the kind of conical tower that is very tall, made out of 3 strands of our crystalline nanotechnological material that is actually vibrationally representative of your ability to tap into the 3rd strand of DNA, which gives you more ability and more discernment to raise your vibration. So our sculpture, in that sense, in that context, is a very prime example of the vibrational energy we are delivering to you to allow you to tap into more of yourself.
And so will you eventually actually come to the planet?
I am in orbit around your planet, as I said, stationary above Sedona at this moment, but if you mean literally physically standing on the ground, yes.
And what will you do once you're here?
Well, we'll find out together, won't we? Obviously, I will be, in some sense, a representative of my society. And what that entails, we will see when it happens.
Do you have any idea when that would be?
As I said, the idea in general is that there will be others before us. We will be more toward the middle or the end of the window of open contact. So somewhere more after the 2033s or 2040s would be more likely, as the energy exists right now, for us in our society specifically to start making more physical appearances upon your planet, though others will be first.
Well, since you're quasi-physical,
Yes.
how does that interact with our physical reality here?
Well, again, we have the ability to adjust our frequency to a certain point, and therefore we would appear to be mostly physical to you at the point when you arrive at being a little bit closer to us in frequency. Because we will be more similar in frequency, you'll be capable of perceiving us as solidly physical. At the same time, you will also be capable of perceiving us in our quasi-physical state as well. It will just depend upon what the moment requires.
And I suppose the ones that would be able to perceive you would be the ones that aren't going to go running screaming because their own shadow is emerging and scaring them to death.
At that point where we actually can manifest physically on your planet, obviously, of course, there would no longer be those particular attributes in the people that we come into physical contact with.
I see. So lastly,
Yeah.
You've said that we are the masters of limitation. So we'd like to ask you, you are the masters of?
We are the masters of communing with the masters of limitation.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Tadeo. We all appreciate you so much and the wonderful information that you share, and I hope everybody had a good time today.
And will continue to do so, because it is time for your meditation. So the idea, again, is, of course, it is our passion and our pleasure to interact with each and every one of you and all of you together, our deep appreciation for the gift you're giving us and allowing us to do so. And now, please continue to explore the conundrum we have delivered, so that you may allow your brains and neural networks to realign and reposition in a way that will make you more conducive to the great mystery.
Hi Bashar, I have this idea. It's pretty raw, but I would love to hear your position regarding this. So I heard recently scientists talking about anti-energy, as in something that keeps existence expanding, as in something that could keep the wormhole open. And it resonated with me because I feel the same way when I clear a limiting belief back to zero, when I clear it back as in reverse to a place where it never existed. I feel that there is a huge expansion going on inside of me. And I felt that we can do something, we can return something to zero, thus creating this anti-energy inside of us and thus creating a real expansion. Is it possible to absolutely reverse the limiting belief, to bring it to zero as if it never existed? And does that create a real expansion? I would love to hear your opinion. Thank you.
Yes. And what you're referring to scientifically is what scientists call dark energy rather than anti-energy, although it has what you might call an anti-property since it works in an opposite function from what you'd consider to be regular energy. But you see, you're doing this all the time. You're zeroing out every moment. This is what happens when you shift billions of times per second, from one reality to another to create the illusion of space and time. You're actually zeroing out every moment and allowing the thing that existed in another reality to simply not exist or ever have existed in your reality. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist at all. It just means that it never existed in the new reality that you've created, but it still exists in other realities that are simply no longer being experienced by you. So you're zeroing out all the time. But however you wish to look at it, however you wish to frame it, however you wish to use that process, is up to you to create the permission slip that works for your particular perspective and your particular expression of consciousness. So yes, the short answer is yes, it can be used that way.
Greetings, Bashar.
Good day.
Hi. I'm excited to talk to you about a few things.
Yes.
I've often pondered your sharing about Earth people assisting those on other planets in their awakening process.
Yes.
During my life, I've had experiences in the dream state on starships, so it is a topic that's very exciting to me. And I would like for you, if you are willing, to speak further about how that will unfold individually for people that are interested in experiencing that in the future.
Yes. Well, you will function as a kind of a vanguard for bringing humanity into the greater awareness of the fact that you're interacting with many beings already on that level, that you are part of a galactic family on different extra-dimensional levels. But all of this must, as we just said with the last person, begin to be realized in a way that allows it to trickle down into physical reality as an experience as well. But many people are establishing footholds and connections and links to other beings in other realities, on other planets, and so on and so forth, to establish a network and a connection and a relationship between the humanity of Earth and the beings of other worlds as well. So if you are part and parcel of that kind of an adventure, we thank you for your service in that way, and it will help accelerate the ability of people to choose to awaken to the probability that they can become physically part of a larger galactic family that they've already become part of on an astral level.
Thank you. That's so exciting. And
Yes.
your answer also ties into my next question. What does a human being have to do to transcend death and achieve immortality in the physical body?
Have a reason for doing so, because in general, there's not a reason for doing so, because you have themes that you're exploring. And when you get to the end of that theme, you can change to another theme while still physical. But most people actually enjoy the break in between of going into spirit to have more opportunities, more probabilities to choose from. And they may decide that they would actually rather do something else other than remain physical. So the idea of being physically immortal, while it's not impossible, is relatively unlikely just because of the various things that there are to choose from that might actually be more exciting. Now, many people on your planet can be much more long physically lived. That's fine. It's just that most people will actually not choose physical immortality unless there is a really good reason to do so. But generally speaking, people will find that the reasons they might choose to be immortal are actually better served by actually going back into spirit.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would enjoy having you tell us something new, lofty, exciting in our probable near future that we can focus on to assist in bringing it to full manifestation.
There will be an increase in sightings of what you call UFOs in the years to come, in the next decade at the most, leading up to the idea of solidifying the open window of contact. So look for more sightings, listen for reports of more sightings, and listen for the ones in particular. One moment. Listen for the ones in particular that seem to appear in areas that are connected to the concept of conflict, and see what that does to the people in the area witnessing those craft. That is all we are allowed to say.
Much appreciated.
Our appreciation to you as well.
Thank you.
Good day.
Good day.
Hello, Bashar. Thank you for taking my question. So, I have a twin sister, and am curious about what is, other than us sort of having the same DNA, what is unique about that may be different from other siblings that perhaps we can tap into or better connect with, or if there's any other significance to just, we have the same DNA. All right. I love you, Bashar. Thank you so much. Bye.
There is always a slight difference in the DNA, which is what makes you a different person than your twin, and vice versa. But that difference doesn't appear to be significant in the way that you gauge these things at this point in your science. Twins have exhibited, as many of you know, certain kinds of telepathic or psychic bonds because the similarity in your physical structure creates an ease to some degree, not that every twin takes advantage of this, but creates an ease to some degree of creating a similar vibration. Remember, telepathy or telempathy is the result of being on the same wavelength as someone else and having the same thoughts at the same time. You're not actually reading their mind, you're reading your own mind because you're on a similar wavelength, and thus on that frequency, you can only have certain thoughts that are germane to that frequency. So being a twin can enhance the idea of telepathy between you, because you're already physiologically so similar that the vibrational difference between you isn't so great that you can't easily get into sync with one another and have the same thoughts at the same time. That's one advantage of twinness. At the same time, there is a polar opposite to this idea. It allows you as seemingly, and I say this loosely, seemingly the same person or a similar person, to have different experiences and different vantage points that you can share with one another. So it would be like saying, well, what if I did this instead of that? So twins can actually allow you to follow two different paths and two different themes, but as an extension of the same oversoul, as if, well, what if I live that life instead of this life? And what if I live that life instead of this life? And then compare notes as if you had lived two lives simultaneously from the oversoul's perspective. Good day, good day.
Great day to you, Bashar. How are you?
Perfect, and you?
You're welcome. So to begin, I wanted to, I've been studying the Abraham teachings.
Yes.
And a lot of times they'll ask their questioners, do you believe that you're vibration and energy? And I can't ever say yes to that. So I was hoping that you might aid me in getting to know how I can get my mind to know that everything is made of vibration and energy, including me, like my mind knows how to pick up a pencil.
Well, have you studied even your own physical, scientific quantum mechanics?
I've tried, but it just goes over my head.
Well, take your time. But the idea in general is that everything is about resonance. Everything is about frequency. That's how you differentiate. Let's start at the beginning. Do you understand the concept that there is simply one unbroken, homogeneous existence?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
All right. Let me put it even more simply. Do you believe in cake?
Yes.
You're familiar with cake?
Cake, yes, that you eat?
Yes, cake.
Yes, yes.
Now, if somebody gave you a slice of cake and asked you, can you analyze, however you wish to, under a microscope or whatever, what the ingredients are that went into creating that slice of cake? Are you with me so far?
Yes, yes.
Does that seem like a thing that is relatively simple to do?
To analyze it all? No, not well, under a microscope, probably yes.
All right, thank you. And let's say you do that and you find, well, there is milk in here, and there are eggs in here, and there's flour in here, and there is chocolate in here, and there is sugar in here. And you find all these things and break it all down to those particular individual ingredients. Yes?
Yes.
You're with me so far?
Yes.
All right. Each of those things are made of atoms, yes?
Yes.
You understand that, yes?
Yes.
Well, what makes sugar different from chocolate?
I don't know.
Sure you do. It's made of a different arrangement of atoms, is it not?
Okay. I'll go with that.
Can you
Yes.
follow that? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So a different arrangement of atoms is similar to the idea of a different frequency. It gives off a different vibration because it's a different arrangement of things. Just like red is electromagnetic energy, the same electromagnetic energy as blue, but it's operating on a different frequency that your senses perceive as what you call a different color. Are you with me?
Yes.
All right. So it's really no more complicated than that. One material from another is a different arrangement of certain things that you call atoms. One color from another is simply a different frequency, in much the same way that when you watch your television, you're watching one program and then you switch to a different program. Well, why don't those two programs interfere with one another? How can you see one clearly and then another that's different clearly without interference from the one you were watching a moment ago? It's all about a different frequency. It's like teeth interleaving between one another instead of trying to get into the same space at the same time. So that's all that's meant by different frequencies, different resonances, is just about whatever the material is, and you don't have to know what it is, that existence is made of, has different patterns of frequency and vibration, different ideas within it that create different experiences. And that's what creates everything, is those imposition of different patterns, different frequencies, different vibrations that allows you to perceive something as being different from something else, even though it's all made of the same thing. Is this helping?
Yes. Thank you.
That's all there is to it.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Make sense?
Yes.
All
And the
right.
last thing I wanted to talk about was the ego.
Yes.
How can I've done the practices that you've talked about, like with writing a contract in order to get the ego to stop wanting to be so dominant in everything.
Yes.
And as I've been practicing the law of attraction with the Abrahams, it still seems to keep wanting to know the how of everything, so that dominant thought kind of overrides the other dominant thoughts
All
I've
right.
had. How can
All
I go
right.
about? Yeah.
That's because you have a definition of that makes you think that it will actually help you, when in fact it will actually hurt you. So the idea is that when the ego thinks it needs to know all how the mechanisms work and how this and what's going to happen and all the details, it's actually, shall we say, making itself more opaque to what's going on. It's actually slowing the process down by doing that. It's actually assuming it knows what the best outcome actually is when it doesn't. If you actually start relaxing that and give a different definition to that idea as something that would actually work against you and not allow you to move forward as quickly as you might like and not give you the actual best outcome, then once you associate that idea, that definition to the process, you will stop doing it, because you will realize that the ego simply has no capacity to know what the best outcome is, or that it really needs to know how things work, and that all these things are working towards slowing the process down and making things actually more murky for you.
Okay, so having a stubborn mind or a stubborn ego, is that a common thing that people have?
The stubbornness, again, stubbornness comes from a definition that is out of alignment with who you truly are. So in other words, you're defining the stubbornness as it's got to happen this way or something will go wrong. You have to realize that that's just a story that your negative beliefs are telling you. You have to stop believing in that story.
So it's more about my beliefs, not my ego actually doing it.
It's always about your beliefs, because your beliefs color what your ego is capable of expressing itself to do.
Okay.
So go into the beliefs and say, stubbornness is just an insistence that if I let go of doing it this way, something worse will happen. That's a belief that the negative belief is trying to get you to buy into, so you won't let it go. This is how beliefs perpetuate themselves. The negative ones will use fear to perpetuate themselves. It's not malicious, it's just how they're structured, because if beliefs, both positive and negative and neutral, don't have a way of perpetuating themselves, then you can't have a physical reality experience, because physical reality isn't real. It's only the product of what you believe to be true. It's only the product of your focus. So the idea of buying into a negative belief, if you happen to have bought into it to begin with, is that the negative belief is going to continue to try and perpetuate itself by feeding you more negative fear-based beliefs, so you won't let it go. You have to understand that what it's telling you is not a fact. It's just a story to perpetuate itself, and that you can change the story and everything will be fine.
Gotcha.
Does that help?
Right. It does. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a great day. And
so welcome.
Thank you so much for your time. Bye.
Always.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Hello, Bashar. The other day I was reading some channeled material from the Arcturian Council where they were describing that we are here to experience the ultimate experience of knowing ourselves from finite beings to infinite beings. And, you know, that's cool, but it just seems like I feel like I have this perspective that, you know, we're just kind of like bored as high dimensional entities, and we kind of just want to, you know, play a game to, you know, experience ourselves as separate. And, you know, to me that just seems like we're just like guinea pigs. I don't know. So I'm kind of just, you know, at a loss with trying to figure out why we're even doing this. Please and thank you.
You are your own guinea pig. You're not anyone else's guinea pig, and you're not bored as higher entities. You simply see the excitement and the value and advantage of doing things in different ways according to what's possible in existence. So don't necessarily have to bring boredom into it. You don't have to bring the idea of victimhood into it by referring to yourself as a guinea pig. If you are a guinea pig, you're your own guinea pig. So sometimes you might decide it's going to be very exciting to go into a particular reality, so you can pig out in a different way.
Hi there. Thank you, Bashar, for taking my call.
It is our pleasure and our passion to do so. What would you like to discuss?
I'm curious about, since consciousness takes place at the subconscious, and unconscious level, is this unique to the human experience, or do others as well, other species, have those three forms of consciousness?
There are a few that do, but of course they can still experience them in a very different way. So it's not absolutely unique to humanity. What is relatively unique, although again not absolutely so, with Earth humans, is the degree to which they allow the fear-based beliefs to color the functionality of the subconscious mind.
I see. That being said, I do notice that when we go into the dream state, it seems like we open up to a higher aspect of consciousness.
Yes.
I'm presuming, since you've mentioned that your species woke up in the dream.
Yes.
So my question is, as we try to expand our consciousness, how can we maintain what some experiences, out-of-body experiences while we sleep, so that we could become more cognizant and retain a memory of our sleep?
Where it is relevant to do so, you can do so. It might not always be relevant to do so, because you might be doing many things out of body that aren't necessarily relevant to what you're doing when you're physical. So don't necessarily insist that you have to remember everything. But if you open up to the idea of allowing yourself to be more lucid and let the physical and the non-physical become more common, in the sense of being more alike than not alike, relax the definitions that there is such a great difference between physical and non-physical, because physical reality is just a different type of dream. So the more lucid you become in physical reality, the more lucid and aware you will become of non-physical reality, because you're not imposing such a separation or barrier between the two, because they are just different aspects of one thing. Because remember, you never really leave spirit. You're just dreaming that you've left spirit. So the more you allow yourself to relax the definitions of difference between physical and non-physical reality, the more you will remember whatever is relevant for you to remember when you are, quote unquote, out of body. Does that help?
Yes, it does. And to that end, I find it kind of synchronistic that we're dealing with a species that doesn't use memory in the same way that we do.
Yes.
And yet we're going through an experience of coming into incarnation with no memory.
Well, some of you, not all of you. Many of you do have memory.
Is it also part of the expansion to be able to recall, to bring forth the memories?
In general, yes. But again, it depends on what's relevant for the theme that you chose to explore. It's not necessarily relevant for everyone to do it that way, but it is becoming more generally possible and probable with the children being born on your planet over the last few decades, yes.
So along those lines, I could develop it if I chose that theme, because I feel like I'm exploring consciousness as a theme, and to that end, I seem to have woken up to some of the clairaudience experiences, and it's like when I leave the dream state, I wake up hearing conversations ensue or take place that apparently I'm doing while I'm dreaming.
Yes, all right. So again, that may be part of the process of creating more similarity between physical and non-physical reality for you by crossing that divide, by allowing conversations and awareness to cross that divide and start leaking into your physical reality from the non-physical one.
I was also curious if I had an experience in 2008 where I actually have a recollection of being on board a ship, but I don't know who those beings are. Would it be possible? Would you be able to determine that?
Well, most likely you're dealing again with grays and hybrids because that's the typical people you will be dealing with regard to those memories of being aboard ships. It doesn't mean that there aren't other beings there from time to time as well, like the mantis and so on and so forth. But in general, it will mostly be the grays and the hybrids. Sometimes you'll get the things like tall whites and other kinds of beings that have references and familiarity to some people on your planet. But again, generally, hybrids and grays.
And so when those exchanges occur, are we in some form of astral where, we meet halfway from where they're at?
Usually, not always, but usually. Sometimes there is actually an altered physical reality in which you still are kind of physical, but not exactly in the same physical reality that you consider to be your physical reality when you are, quote unquote, awake.
I see.
It can just be a shift into a parallel reality that is very similar to yours, but also contains qualities of the astral realm.
I see. All right. And so I also do recollect having an experience being out of body when I was in the hospital in a certain case. At that time, I had a being actually, I think, assist me in coming out of body because I was dealing with a lot of pain.
Yes, that's not uncommon. It's not uncommon to have your guides or other beings help in those situations. Yes.
I found it fascinating because when I got out of the body, the being was actually looking at me above the hospital bed. And so I could see myself and I could see the being, but he wasn't looking at me in the bed. He was looking at me directly where I was out of body.
Yes, because you were more in that being's reality at that point. The body, in that sense, was in another reality that is not necessarily as relevant to that being.
And so, once again, I guess, unless it's part of my theme, those memories of what took place when that took place seem to elude me.
It's all right. Again, you remember enough at the moment. Take the energy, take the experiences, and move forward in your exploration. Don't necessarily think that you always need to look back.
Great. Wonderful.
All right.
Sounds great. I appreciate the time, and I wish you unconditional love and gratitude for your service.
Unconditional love to you as well for yours.
Thank you.
Good day.
Good day.
And pleasant dreams.
Hello, Bashar. So, when I was about 5 years old, I had a contact experience, a brief experience with a gray in the middle of the night. As I was walking into my bedroom, through the bedroom window, I could see the gray sitting in a school desk that was right outside the window and had his arms on the top and was turning his head to look at me. And I I have thought over the years that perhaps the school desk had some type of significance or connection to the fact that I was meant to teach, or that was my passion. And I have taught and have done a lot with education and coaching and things like that. I've sort of dabbled in some of that more recently. And I've learned over the years what's my passion, what's not my passion. It is ever evolving, as I think it should. But I'm just curious if there was significance to the way that the gray approached me sitting in the school desk, or if it was just a way to approach a small child and not be so maybe scary as to just show up standing up in the same room. I love you, Bashar. Thank you so much.
Well, both. Not only about the idea of teaching, but also about the idea of learning and letting you know that when you are asleep and out of body, you are attending different classes on different levels of dimensionality in ethereal or astral planes, learning different things that you need to learn in order to teach different things on the earth to aid and assist in the evolution of humanity. But yes, to make it simple for a child to understand and to not be scared as well.
Hello, Bashar.
Good day.
My name is Sarah. I'm currently in California, and I have a question about transforming the Orion energy of oppression as it relates to my uterus or womb.
All right.
When I began connecting to the hybrid children, a game happened where I would imagine them as tiny babies, and I would pop them in my womb, and I would flow love to them. And it was a fun permission slip.
Yes.
I thought it might be fun for them in case they hadn't had that experience. And it's fun for me because I've been careful not to have human children because Earth is a little nuts.
Yes, we understand.
So where it got interesting was in Matters of the Heart, you said we could flow unconditional love to those in darkness. And I began to imagine even violent adults as tiny babies, and I would pop them into my womb so they could experience the unconditional love that I feel for the hybrid children. And this feels like a powerful permission slip for me. I've been able to unconditionally love anyone and everyone. So I want to understand it better. My question is,
what's to understand?
How can we use the idea of womb energy to experience personal expansion instead of oppression right now?
Well, aren't you doing it?
I am, yes, but I'm wondering how the past oppression relates to the progress we're making of transforming that oppression into freedom.
Well, again, by offering that kind of a permission slip and allowing yourself to become active in doing so, along with physical acts out in the world of service, you are at least providing the energy to the world that gives everyone the opportunity to choose something that will allow them to transform the idea of past oppression. So you are flooding, with that permission slip technique, flooding into the world a vibration that turns the entire world into that kind of a womb experience where people can go back into their child selves and re-educate themselves and realign themselves from that energy going forward to grow into adults that have nothing to do with the idea of the oppressive energy of the past. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you, Bashar. I am very grateful for you.
Our gratitude to you as well. Is that it?
Yes.
All right, then. Good day.
Good day.
So if you think that there's nothing outside that can affect us, is that true?
There is no outside for anything to come from. There is only within. Everything that you experience occurs within your consciousness. You understand that? Okay. There is nothing outside. There is no outside for anything to be in. There is nothing outside your consciousness.
Everything is in my consciousness.
Everything.
Within.
Okay. Everything.
Okay.
The only way you can have an experience of any kind is if you create that experience within your consciousness.
Like, for example,
Yes.
nature.
Nature.
Yeah, when I'm in nature,
Yes.
I feel good.
Yes.
Why is that?
Did she really ask that question? All right. Why is that?
Well, if nothing...
When I say there is nothing outside, I don't mean in the colloquial sense that there's nothing outside the building. Nature, however, to answer your question more directly, is by its very definition more in tune with the frequency of your natural self.
Right.
Therefore, you feel good because you are using nature as a permission slip to allow yourself to be more in touch with your natural vibration. And that always feels really good.
What I think, okay, I got it, but then how about anything negative outside? When I feel bad, something happens outside.
When you feel bad, it's because you believe that your relationship to that circumstance is defined in a negative way. Redefine your relationship to the circumstance, and you will not feel bad. I am not saying to ignore the feeling. You must acknowledge the feeling. All right, I feel bad. Why? What would I have to believe is true about my relationship to this situation in order for me to have this feeling? Because remember, all emotions, without exception, all emotions, all feelings only exist because there is a belief that exists first. You cannot have a feeling without having a definition or a belief first. So if you have a bad feeling, all right, acknowledge it. All right, I've got a bad feeling. So what? Now, I ask myself, do I prefer this feeling? Well, no. I would prefer something else. I would prefer to feel joyful. All right. So let me ask myself, why did I have this bad feeling? What brought this about? Well, I know that feelings come from beliefs. Oh, all right. So, what kind of a belief, the question goes, would I have to have about my relationship to the situation in order for me to have a bad feeling about it? That's how you begin the process of self-investigation and finding out what the definition is. And in finding out what the definition is and identifying it, you can then find out why you had it. And when you find out why you had it, you can let that go and change it for something else you would prefer as a belief. And when you change it for a belief you would prefer, then that belief will generate a feeling that you prefer, which will also generate thoughts that you prefer, which will also generate behavior that you prefer.
I tried that. I know you taught us that, but it's not that easy.
That's a belief.
Okay.
You see? So now the question is, why do I have a belief that says it's not that easy? You see, that's the next step. You can always take the question to the next level. If you find that you have tried it one way, as you say, and it doesn't seem to be working for you, look at the essence of what you're actually saying. What's the result? All right, the result that you're feeling is, this is difficult. It's not that easy. Very good. You've now arrived at another place where you have something to work with. So acknowledge it. All right, I acknowledge that I have a feeling it's difficult. I have a feeling it's not that easy. That must mean what? I have a belief that it's not easy. Why do I have that belief? And you can start the investigation again and keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing that until you truly find the true fundamental foundational underlying belief that is generating all the other secondary level beliefs.
I think it's not a belief but an experience.
No. Your experience comes from your belief. I understand that you have experience in physical reality, and you can say, well, that happened to me, and so that's why I feel this way. But you see, you are simply putting, as you say, euphemistically, the cart before the horse. The way you've been taught to look at reality is making you think that that comes from the experience. But in fact, the experience first came from the belief. Now, once you have the experience may reinforce the belief, but it doesn't generate the belief. The belief generates the experience, which then by definition strengthens the belief. Because all beliefs must, by definition, contain an element, a component that is a self-generating, self-fulfilling aspect. If beliefs did not make it seem as if no other beliefs were possible, you wouldn't be able to have that particular experience. So when you have a belief that generates an experience, the experience will then always have the capacity to reinforce the belief and make it seem to be the only thing that's true. But that's not true. You have to get to a point where you know it's not true, no matter how it feels, so that when something happens, you can recognize that the experience is not causing the belief, it's just reinforcing the belief. And that therefore the experience can be used to put you in touch with the belief that generated the experience to begin with. You follow me?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I kind of.
I think so.
Yeah.
Work with that.
Okay, I have a problem when my husband tells me to do that.
Why do you have a problem with it? And why are you defining it as a problem?
Well, because it comes from outside. Not
There is no outside. All the things you choose to feel, you choose to feel. Anyone could come up to you and say anything. You could still laugh, you know.
That's what he said. Someone slaps, even if someone slaps in my head, I still have to choose how I feel, how I feel.
But the point is, you're choosing, which means it's under your control. So if you are choosing to feel bad, you have to ask yourself, why would I choose that? And when you ask that kind of a question, it can put you in touch with the belief that makes you think that that's your only choice, when in fact you have many choices of how to feel and how to believe. So you have to find out why you're choosing what you're choosing. Up to you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.